Welcome to today's session in physics. Today we are discussing that important topic, that is magnetic field lines. Here we have a comparison between a solenoid and a bar magnet. It is experimentally proven that the field lines due to a bar magnet and solenoid, they resemble each other. Here in this figure we have three figures. First one, as you know, it's written north and south. It means that it is a bar magnet, and the direction of magnetic field outside the magnet and inside the magnets are shown. Second diagram corresponds to a magnetic field produced by a solenoid. Okay, and the third one, it is an electric field produced by an electric dipole. So these three diagrams we are comparing. So it shows that from the first two diagrams, it shows that the field due to solenoid is similar to the field due to a bar magnet or the field due to a magnetic dipole. So the magnetic field due to a solenoid is the same as the field due to a bar magnet. So that is the first thing what we are discussing, the field lines, the resemblance between the field lines of a bar magnet and a solenoid. Now the first point regarding the magnetic field lines, it is they form closed curves. This is unlike the electric dipole where the field lines, they begin or start at positive charge and end at negative charge. Now the second point is the tangent to the field line at any point gives the direction of net magnetic field at that point. Now the third point, larger number of field lines crossing unit area, the stronger is the magnitude of magnetic field. So the more close the field lines are, the more stronger the magnetic field will be. Now coming to the fourth point, that is magnetic field lines do not intersect. So if they did so, at the point of intersection, they will have, that means we will have two directions to follow for the magnetic field which is observed. So we don't have actually the magnetic field lines do not intersect. So these are the important points regarding the magnetic field lines. Now once again I emphasize that point, that is the field lines due to a solenoid is the same as the field lines due to a bar magnet. So this similarity, we are making use of that similarity to show that the again, that is theoretically we are showing the field due to a solenoid is similar to that of bar magnet. For doing that, we consider bar magnet as an equivalent solenoid. So we think that this is, instead of bar magnet we have a solenoid. Okay, and the solenoid, each loop is having a magnetic moment, that means the dipole moment m, that is Ia. So if there are capital letter N turns altogether, we know the total magnetic moment is equal to Nia, where I is the current. Now to start with, we make some assumptions. The length of the bar magnet, we take it to be 2L. Okay, here you can see this is 2L and half length becomes L. So actually this is a bar magnet and we are assuming it to be a coil, circular coil of that many turns. So the length of the bar magnet, magnetic length, actually it is 2L and half length it is L. So to find the magnetic field due to this actually bar magnet, now here we consider it as a solenoid. Due to the solenoid at a point P as shown in the diagram, at this point, to find the magnetic field, first of all we need to find the magnetic field due to a very small element of length dx, okay, at the point P. So how much is the magnetic field produced by an element of width dx at the point P? That's what we need to write first. So when we write that expression for the magnetic field due to an element dx, we have the expression or some assumptions we have. That means we are assuming the solenoid to have n turns per unit length. So dx element we are considering, so total number of turns it will be n into dx. That means in that width dx, how many turns will be there? N into dx. And we assume its length to be 2L and radius to be A. Now we are going to write the expression for the axial field at the point P. So as we use the equations which we already discussed, we get the expression for the magnetic field at the point P as dB is equal to mu 0 into n into dx. That small letter n into dx, it comes as the total number of turns in that width dx into Ia square divided by 2 into r minus x whole square plus a square whole raised to 3 by 2. This expression dB we have written by taking the equation we studied in chapter 4, that is the magnetic field due to a circular loop, current carrying circular loop. As an application of Bhatt-Savart law, we derived an equation. Actually, that equation we have used here to write this equation dB. Okay, so the magnitude of the total field we will obtain by summing over all the elements. That means here we have written the expression for magnetic field due to a very small element, that is of length dx. Now we have to sum over all the elements, or otherwise we have to do integration from minus L to plus L. Why the integration is from minus L to plus L? This is the solenoid and or the bar magnet. We took the midpoint as the origin. Here the midpoint is the origin. So this end is minus L and this end is plus L, and the total length we took as 2L. So the integration, when we integrate over x, that integration limit is to be from minus L to plus L. That is why in that step we have the integration. So total magnetic field B is equal to mu 0 n I a square by 2 integral minus L to plus L dx divided by r minus x whole square plus a square whole raised to 3 by 2. So that integration limit is from minus L to plus L. Now we have to do actually the trigonometric substitution and all, but here we do one approximation. That is, when we integrate, that denominator inside the integration, this r minus x whole square plus a square whole raised to 3 by 2, it will be approximately r cube under the limit r very much greater than a and r very much greater than L. That means we are considering the field due to this bar magnet at a far distant point. That is what we mean by r very much greater than a and r very much greater than L. So compared to the radius and length of the magnet, that distance what we are considering is very large. So under that consideration, the denominator can be approximated to be r cube. So our expression becomes mu 0 n I a square by 2 r cube into integral minus L to L dx. So when we integrate dx from minus L to L, we will get the result. Integral dx is x. So between the limit minus L to L, we will get it as 2L. So our expression becomes mu 0 n I 2L a square by 2r cube. Now in this equation, in the numerator, we have n into 2L into I into pi a square. So we are rearranging that. So in the denominator, if you multiply both the numerator and denominator with the pi, the equation will be mu 0 n I 2L pi a square divided by 2 pi r cube. So we multiplied and divided with 1 pi. So with the presence of that pi in the numerator we have n into 2L into I into pi a square. I into pi a square is nothing but the magnetic moment, I into pi a square, because current into area gives the magnetic moment. Then n into 2L means small letter n is the number of turns per unit length. 12 is the total length. So n into 12 becomes total number of turns. So total number of turns into I into A becomes the total magnetic moment. So this many terms can be replaced by with that m. That m is the magnetic moment. Now just multiplying and dividing with one more term, that is 2, our equation becomes B is equal to mu 0 2m by 4 pi r cube. And this equation we have already discussed the case or the axial field of a bar magnet. That is what we have. So this bar magnet and solenoid, they produce similar magnetic fields. That's what we can conclude. The magnetic field lines we already discussed the similarity. Here the equation also is similar. So that is the conclusion of this discussion. Now coming to the next topic, that is magnetic flux. In the same way as we defined electric flux, here we can define magnetic flux. So magnetic flux is a physical quantity which is proportional to the number of magnetic field lines passing normally through a surface. Same way. Okay. And mathematically, magnetic flux is given by phi B is equal to B dot A, that is equal to BA cos theta, where theta is the angle between B and A. Here you know B is the magnetic field and A is the area vector. And you know how to take the direction of area vector. Direction of area vector is always along outward normal. So here some examples you can see in picture. This first diagram, this is the example in which both B and area vector are in the same direction. So here in this case theta is equal to 0. Okay. In this case actually both B and area vector are perpendicular to each other, and here we have theta equal to 90 degrees. So if theta equal to 90 degree, as you know, cos 90 is 0. So here in this particular case the flux will be equal to 0. This is an arbitrary situation. That means the angle between what area vector and magnetic field is any angle, not 0 or 90 degree. So in short, magnetic flux is a physical quantity which is proportional to the number of magnetic field lines passing normally through a surface. And so we can say that the flux through a surface, it depends on the magnetic field, the strength of the magnetic field, area, and also on the angle between B and A. Now, if the magnetic field has different magnitudes and or directions at various parts of a surface, the magnetic flux through this whole surface is given by, so through each surface you have to find the flux, then you add, that's what. So B1 dot dA1 plus B2 dot dA2, in the same way as we did with electric flux. Okay, so we have summation over all surfaces Bi dot dAi, which can be written as integral B dot dA. So the same approach as we did in the case of electric flux, here also we can apply. Okay, so that is about the total flux. And the type of quantity, the magnetic flux, you know, B dot A, it's a dot product, so it's a scalar quantity. And you know, the flux will be equal to 0 if the magnetic field and area vector are perpendicular to each other. And the flux will be maximum when both area vector and magnetic field are in the same direction. That means when theta equal to 0. And the unit of magnetic flux, SI unit of magnetic flux is Weber. So that is a point to be noted, and that 1 Weber is equal to Tesla meter square. 1 Tesla meter square is defined as 1 Weber. See, electric flux is not having any special unit. We discussed it in terms of units of electric field and area vector. That means Newton per coulomb meter square, or Newton meter square per coulomb was the SI unit of electric flux. But in the case of magnetic flux is having a separate unit, SI unit, that is called Weber. The representation is WB, and 1 Weber is equal to 1 Tesla meter square, and it is defined as the amount of magnetic flux over an area of 1 meter square held normal to the uniform magnetic field of 1 Tesla. Okay, so that is about magnetic flux. Now coming to the Gauss's law in magnetism. Gauss's law in magnetism states that the total magnetic flux through any closed surface is equal to 0. So you can make a comparison between the Gauss's law in electrostatics and in magnetism. So in magnetism, the total magnetic flux is equal to 0, whereas in electrostatics that was equal to Q by epsilon 0. So here the total flux is equal to 0. That's what the Gauss's law is. So the difference between the Gauss's law in magnetism and that in electrostatics, it lies in the fact that isolated that means monopoles, they do not exist. I have already told you, that means independent north pole or independent south pole do not exist. North pole and south pole, they exist together. Okay, so monopoles do not exist. That is why we have that expression, that means summation B dot ds is equal to 0. Or we can say it is because of one more fact, that magnetic field lines, they form closed curves, whereas electric field lines, they do not form closed curves. Magnetic field lines, they form closed curves. So that is why. So these are the two reasons for that difference between Gauss's law in magnetism and Gauss's law in electrostatics. The two differences or the two reasons, they are, first one, magnetic monopoles do not exist, and the second one is the magnetic field lines, they form closed curves. That is why the net magnetic flux through any closed surface is 0, and that's what the Gauss's law in magnetism. With that, we conclude today's lesson. Thank you.